I never thought I'd see a luxury SUV nose down in a muddy ditch with its tail pointing up to the sky like a white flag. But that's exactly where my HOA president's car ended up after she blocked my driveway and dared me to deal with it. And trust me, I dealt with it. That was the opening shot in a war I never wanted, but couldn't walk away from a war fought on my family's land with every neighbor watching, and with a Karen who thought she owned not just the rules, but the people under them. My name's Holt Travis. I run a small farm that's been in my family for 4 generations. We're not talking thousands of acres, just enough land to raise some cattle, grow a field of corn that turns gold in September, and keep my hands busy on a John Deere that rattles the ground when it starts up. Life out here is quiet, or it should be. Feed the animals, mend the fences, watch the sun drop behind the barn. I live by a simple code: work hard, treat folks fair, don't start trouble. But if trouble parks itself in front of my house, you'd better believe I'll answer the door. And that's what happened one Tuesday morning. I walked out to find a gleaming white SUV parked sideways across my gravel drive, blocking me in completely. Tucked under the wiper was a fancy sheet of paper like wedding stationery. It read, "We need to discuss the new community access point. Don't go anywhere." Signed, Karen Tyson, president of the Briarwood Estates HOA. Community access. What she really meant was a road they wanted to carve straight through my best pasture to make a shortcut for a shiny new subdivision. They'd sent letters before I'd ignored them, but this blocking my drive like she owned it. That note burned in my hand. I tried the sheriff's office. They shrugged. It's an HOA dispute. Neighbors came out like it was a free show. One leaned on my fence smirking, asked if I was going to tow it or plow it. I looked at my barn at Old Green sitting there with 12 tons of American steel waiting for me. My wife Lisa didn't say a word, just sipped her coffee on the porch and asked if the birdhouse camera was rolling. I climbed into the tractor, eased the forks under that SUV and lifted it like a toy. The neighborhood went silent except for the growl of diesel. Then I rolled it slowly, carefully into the drainage ditch. Nose first, neat as you please. When I killed the engine and walked back inside, Lisa was laughing softly. Problem solved right. Wrong. I hadn't ended anything. I'd just declared war. The video went viral before her tow truck even showed up. Farmer versus HOA president, someone posted. Strangers online called my tractor a justice delivery system. For a moment I felt proud, but deep down I knew a bully doesn't quit when they're embarrassed. They get even. The first letter came 2 days later. Cream-colored envelope reeking of perfume, 3 separate fines. $500 for operating agricultural machinery on a residential access road my driveway. $1,000 for modifying community landscape the ruts her SUV left when it slid into the ditch. And $2,000 for creating a public nuisance and safety hazard using the viral video as proof I was some kind of menace. I just stared at it, my jaw locked. Lisa pulled up the bylaws on her laptop and showed me how vague they were, phrases like detrimental to the aesthetic harmony of the community. That was a blank check for Karen to do whatever the hell she wanted. Then came the threats. Late-night emails from her HOA account. Mr. Travis, a cooperative attitude would be in your best interest. Another, it would be a shame if your old barn failed inspection. And then the real blow, sabotage. One night I walked out to find my diesel tank drained dry, padlock cut clean. 500 gallons gone. The next morning my fence had been sliced and my cattle scattered, some almost wandering onto the highway. By the time I rounded them back up, I was covered in mud, shaking from exhaustion. That's when the doubt hit me. Sitting at my kitchen table, head in my hands, I asked myself if I was the problem. Maybe I should just give in, sell the easement, let them carve up the pasture. Maybe peace was worth more than pride. But Lisa, God bless her, she wouldn't let me fold. She stacked photos of the cut fence, the empty tank, a muddy boot print we didn't recognize. "She's trying to break you, Holt," she said, "but we're going to fight smarter." That night we turned our kitchen table into a war room. We hid cameras in birdhouses, tucked GPS trackers in the tractor, and filled one fuel drum with diesel laced with invisible UV dye. It was bait, and sure enough, the rat came back. 4 nights later, a figure in a hoodie crept up to siphon the drum. I caught him red-handed, literally glowing blue under my UV flashlight. His name was Jerry, a handyman. Karen had paid to drain tanks and cut fences. In the barn, voice shaking, he spilled everything she hired him, handed him bolt cutters, promised cash if he made my farm look like a hazard. She was building a false record so the county would believe I was the problem. And worst of all, the developer she was working with, Oak Ridge Estates, wasn't some outside company. It was her own shell business registered under her maiden name. Karen wasn't just enforcing HOA rules. She was using the HOA as her personal racket, trying to force me into selling land so she could profit. We had Jerry's confession, the glowing hands, the emails, the fake HOA minutes. But Karen wasn't done. She sent 2 bigger thugs during a thunderstorm to break into my barn and destroy evidence. They came in a beat-up pickup chain on the gate headlights, cutting through the rain. Phone lines were down. No cops coming. It was just me, Lisa, and Old Green. I crashed the tractor straight through my side fence lights, blazing engine roaring like Judgment Day. I didn't ram them. I didn't have to. I herded them inch by inch across the soaked ground until their truck lost traction and slid backwards into my irrigation pond. The water swallowed half the cab. The men scrambled out terrified, and I waded in to fish out their burner phones before they sank. Proof, more proof. When the sheriff finally showed up, soaked and grim, I handed him everything: Jerry's confession, the fake minutes, the phones, the video. He took it all, promised it would be investigated. But I didn't want this to end in some quiet court filing months from now. Karen had ruled this community with fear for too long. Her downfall needed witnesses. So at the next HOA meeting, Lisa and I walked in with a binder full of evidence and a phone live streaming to the world. Karen was at the podium, smooth as ever, until Lisa announced the feed was rolling, her face drained of color. One by one, we laid it out: the video of Jerry's glowing hands, his signed confession, the fake minutes, the shell company in her maiden name. Neighbors who'd been silent for years started speaking up. The woman fined for planting the wrong color flowers, the dad threatened over a swing set. The room swelled with anger, all of it aimed at Karen. She sputtered, denied, but the tide was against her. And then the doors opened. Sheriff Miller stepped in with 2 deputies and a stack of papers. "Karen Tyson, I have a warrant for your arrest," he said, voice steady. He listed the charges like a shopping list: conspiracy, vandalism, insurance fraud, racketeering. That last word cracked her. She bolted for the side door, dove into her shiny white SUV, and tried to flee. But panic is a poor driver. She swung too hard, lost traction on the wet clubhouse lawn, and in front of the entire community slid nose first into the exact same ditch where I'd placed her the first time. Blue lights lit the night. Deputies pulled her out, cuffs on her wrists, mud on her face. The queen of the HOA, the woman who thought she owned my land and my life, was finished. And that's the story. If there's a lesson in all of it, it's this: bullies don't stop when you ignore them. They stop when you stand your ground.